send the worm back into hiding.
Into the ground, underground. Oh, it's actually live already.
Oh yeah, we're fired up.
Nice, we're live.
Still says scheduled for me here. Whatever, cool. I see myself on Twitter. What's up, folks? May 10th, Josh. It is summertime here, baby. Like I got a sunburn on the golf course the other day. Daddy's like tanned.
Daddy's tanned. Daddy's tanned. I had like 2 days of beautiful weather and 3 days of really shitty, not nice weather. So it's almost summer.
Well, that's
I don't know.
Montreal
takes time.
I mean, you do live in the Great White Northeast.
Great White North.
So, how are you doing, Peace?
Incredibly good. I've been affected by an act of God, and I'm dealing with the tail end of it right now. I know. Well, I had a tree struck by lightning, and it's been a huge drama. Took out a power line. We caused a fire. That was separate from the lightning strike. But we took it down today, and the whole fucking thing is hollow because raccoons have been making a crazy home out of it. So we have this insanely awesome dirt. So act of God is working out.
We've got some affected by an act of God.
That's right.
Are you eating? Are you eating today?
Oh, tragically no, but I have a glass of water. I mean, can't get much better than that.
Right. I got a big jug. Got my slow rodeo.
Dude, that has been the best golf companion that I've had.
Not on golf, but just like having a massive water bottle is actually a pretty big life upgrade.
Great form factor. I also wore one of the t-shirts from our friends at Slow Rodeo. Says something to the lines of looking for, it's a racquetball brand, all right, y'all, or not racquetball, racket sports tennis. Brand. Is that tennis? Yeah. Okay, whatever.
Yeah, specifically.
Whatever. Okay, I don't do tennis, but one of the shirts says swingers only or hitters only, which I feel works for golf, so that's cool. The other is looking for hot swingers in your area, and then a phone number. And I wore that on the course the other day, and I'm hoping we get some phone calls. I hope.
I wonder if they are. So. I wonder if they are. I like that slogan the best, but I had to go with the like off black, whatever kind of gray, whatever color that was. Wasn't my favorite slogan, but that I don't know, just couldn't pass.
Just like you're a color first guy. I'm a slogan.
I'm a color first guy. Yeah.
All right. What episode are we on here, y'all?
28.
28, episode 28. Got a great show for you all today. We got an emoji joining us.
It's a big week for worms. Big week for worms.
Followed on the internet for a long time. Very excited. I love Internet Explorers bringing us face to face with new fun people. So we're going to dive into a bunch about. Wow, there's a lot of the Rug.Fun. What the fuck's that all about? Mint.Fun acquisition. The internet generally. Looking for that conversation. I have no idea what the WTFIPDOC episode is going to be like today, but that was a fun little thing we introduced last week. Oh yeah, I'll save this for the actual live open. Farcaster incentives, consumer season. Oh yeah, Josh is going to cook. The Friend thesis is coming clear blast in the lightning round. So very excited to jump into it with you all today. So let's go. Let's do it.
Nice.
Oh yeah, episode 28, Internet Explorers live here every Friday morning, 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern, other times around the world. Fresh off of our very first live Internet Explorers ever. For those of you that were able to join us in person, thank you. It was wonderful, awkward, fun, different. I really enjoyed it. I think as soon as people were able to hear us, other people remotely probably enjoyed it as well. Had just an absolutely epic time at FarCon and at Free Wi-Fi. So huge appreciation to everybody who helped make that happen and who came out and hang out with us. Do more of those in the future, maybe.
Yeah, we already have some good ideas on what V2 of Internet Explorers Live can be, and it's going to be a nice improvement, I think.
And I don't have any recap from the live thing, but check this out from the party that we threw that night.
Money sign! Enjoy! Venice Beach, slow! Rodeo! El Pani!
The world
Sorry,
is
I'm
not
on my
ready.
stupid shit.
The world is not ready for a piece with all the AI tools that you can fuck around with on a regular basis. Yeah, great party. I mean, you probably see we have a lot of videos that are coming out in the next little while, and there's just a ton of just the Enjoy projection. Somebody was DJing from the terminal, I think, coding. The whole thing was just absolutely epic. So wonderful to see people. And I just felt like there was a bunch of conversations that have probably never been had before in an event like that before, which made me feel great personally. But anyways, we'll have a lot of sort of roundups. We got a whole lot of videos, media. Hopefully, we'll be able to bring a bunch of those sessions for you to watch on the internet. So those will come out in the next week or two. But we got a great show here today. We got an emoji hanging out with us today. Somebody who most of you probably just know from Twitter. At least that's how I've known them, from Twitter. And just a whole lot of news coming out of the Worm world, Worm adjacent world. So we're going to dive into that. We're going to see. Last week we introduced a new segment called "What the fuck is Peace doing on chain?" It was insane, and it was especially interesting to me to be able to watch people's faces in the live audience as they were trying to come to grips with what the fuck was actually happening.
I'm so happy we did that for the first time in person, where we could just watch people's faces as they realize where Peace hangs out on the internet.
The wave of confusion and delight and on loop was wonderful. And yeah, I think generally, I mean, we're going to talk about consumer season, Farcaster incentives. I mean, this is a whole lot of really interesting things emerging. So
yeah, it's juicy.
Should be a great session. But let's bring Worm Emoji up here with us to kick things off.
Is it Worm? Do you prefer Worm or Worm Emoji? What's the proper?
I think it's like first name Worm, last name Emoji. Perfect. People usually call me Worm.
Yeah. Mr. Nice. Emoji, got it.
I like Worm.
Yeah.
No, this is great, man. Thanks for making news this week. I think Jess and I were talking in our one-on-one Monday. We're like, oh, who should we bring on Friday for the show? And we're like, it'll reveal itself. And then I think like next day, Zora acquires Mint.Fun. Next day, Rug.Fun is kind of making waves. Everyone's confused about what it is, but excited for it. So, sick to be able to bring you on and jump into all that. I think maybe the place to start is just the like journey you've been on over the last couple of years. You kind of started with, I think context is kind of the company. So I'd love to just kind of know how you think about that. But, you've been on this journey from Context, the app, which is kind of this like social feed, into Mint.Fun, which kind of just got pulled out of you guys. I think it was like a weekend project you were hacking on, and then Meme Market, now Rug.Fun. So I'd love for you to just kind of give the quick overview of like what you guys are doing here and kind of the quick journey to, through those 4 products maybe.
Yeah, sure. It wasn't our plan to make so many products, but I think that's how startups can go. The really short answer of how I got on this journey is I was early to like Bitcoin and knowing about crypto, but I wasn't really interested in using crypto until I kind of started to see NFTs happen, just because I finally clicked for me. Like DeFi summer and things like that were slightly less interesting to me, and seeing consumer people use it, seeing crypto have cultural importance, and seeing people have fun, and that's probably the biggest thing, like have fun with their friends, really got me into wanting to build on crypto. And I think, also that's not to say, things like DeFi aren't fun, but I just couldn't see it at the time as an outsider. And so that was, what got me excited. So, in 2021, I started this company with my co-founder, Adam, and we tried to build Context, which was the first Web3 social feed. We basically took like NFT activities like mints, buys, sales, put it into a feed. That was really awesome for getting us a little bit of clout with like 12 people on Twitter. I'm kidding, but it just didn't. We didn't really figure out how to get a lot of users for that product. Even though people still tell me, "Hey, I really miss using Context," which is really cool. And then we thought about what we use Context for the most, and what we use Context for the most was actually NFT mints. So Context as a social feed product, it actually had a lot of engineering going into it to kind of like pull in data from the blockchain and making it, legible. And so it actually it was less of a step than you think to just really laser in on the NFT mint part of it and kind of just build a product where, importantly, context was very read only. Like we showed you what people were doing on chain, but you couldn't really do stuff on chain. And so that was something we changed with Mint.Fun, our second product, where okay, now you can do stuff on chain. So you can learn about NFTs that are being minted, and now you can mint them. And yeah, we worked on that for I think almost 2 years. We launched Mint.Fun in May or June of 2022, I believe. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know how, because there's a bit of an overlapping timeline. I could tell you about Meme Market, I could tell you about Rug.Fun, but yeah, the news came out this week that we reached an agreement with Zora, and Zora is acquiring Mint.Fun. And kind of, yeah, go ahead. Maybe
let's pause on Mint.Fun for a second. So I think you guys launched at a great time. It was, NFTs were getting incredibly hot. Everyone wanted to get in as early as possible, know the ones that were trending, and you guys kind of launched right into that demand. And I think at some point you guys, you were doing a pretty meaningful percentage of like the NFTs minted on ETH were coming from your site, which is sick. So I'm curious, from there, I guess, what did you learn? How did it go over the years since, and what ultimately kind of led to the Zora acquisition? Like why kind of say bye to it?
Yeah, our goal for the first year of running Mint.Fun is we thought, okay, we want to be on a daily basis where 10% of all the NFTs on Ethereum are minted. And it took us about a year, and we got to that. And actually, we started getting higher, oh shoot, 20%, 30%, just by, I think, building a really streamlined product. It was the norm to go to sites like Etherscan, which are fairly technical to do mints. And so we just took every NFT that was minting and built an interface automatically for it. And that's why people use it. You can discover what's trending, but it also literally will build an interface for any NFT mint just automatically, which is awesome for non-technical people and people who are fans of NFTs. And then actually, we had a bit of a problem about 1 year ago, which is about a year ago, some meme coins were popping off on Ethereum. And I don't know if you remember this, but in May 2023, Ethereum was often really expensive to use. Kind of again, the last time that had happened before that was summer 2022, and or I think summer 2021, excuse me. And so people were wondering what would happen, and then all these layer 2s came online. So we pivoted our whole product strategy last May because Mint.Fun usage dropped precipitously, because it was minting an NFT on Ethereum went from maybe costing $5 to $50, and that kind of that really discouraged casual collecting of NFTs, and so it felt very existential. So we went and we added support for 3 layer 2 networks, all based on the OP stack: Optimism, Zora, and Base. Zora and Base launched last summer, and so they were very new. And this was actually great for Mint.Fun because we got to capture a lot of the attention that these new layer 2 networks are having. And I say we, I guess, it's not my thing anymore, but Mint.Fun was and is the best place, in my opinion, to discover layer 2 mints. And I think that really supercharged it. So our market share went even higher from there. And it kind of got to this point though, where Mint.Fun feels like both a very friendly tool, and it feels like a power user tool. I think there's parts of it that are intimidating people. I think that's a good thing, actually. I think it being a power user tool, it represents a unique spot in the market, and it really taps into that DGen collector base. But the short of it was, I think I reached my limit of what I could do to make it better. And that's not that you can't make it better. There's actually a million things one could do to make it better. And so, towards the end of last year, thought of maybe working on something else with the team that I have, that led to Meme Market. But I realized, I don't necessarily, it would be silly to shut down Mint.Fun just because I don't have a lot of great ideas of how to make it a lot better. Because people still use it. It still drives a meaningful percentage of NFT mints every day. And so there was only one person I thought that would be able to, or that I wanted to take it over, and that was Zora. And I've always had a long-standing relationship with people at Zora. I think they're definitely one of the best teams in Web3. That they get it. They pioneered minting in many ways, and so it felt really obvious because I think this isn't based on any internal knowledge. It's just when I look at Zora, I feel like they have a very ambitious mission of bringing on people to Web3 through this cultural lens. And I think that is one thing that Mint.Fun could be used to serve that mission. And so it just seemed like a really great fit. And I was really excited that they wanted to do something there. So now Mint.Fun has a great home. So that makes me very happy because, again, I even if I'm not the one to bring it to the next level, I think it's in the hands of people who will take it to the next level. And, as a user and someone who likes Mint.Fun product, I'm happy that it doesn't have to go away. So, yeah.
Is in your mind, is the right way to think of Mint.Fun as part of Zora as being like the power user suite of tools within there? Or do you have the sense of like direction and maybe either what or where you hope it gets taken?
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak for Zora or their strategy. It's really like up to them, and I don't want to put words in their mouth. But I think that's kind of how I think about it, as, again, more like an outsider. Yeah, I think they maybe view it as like the OpenSea Pro to their OpenSea or something like that. But yeah, I don't have a lot of stuff I can share about what they want to do with it. But I think they want to kind of run it as like, this different segment of the market. But yeah.
My favorite tweet in reply to the announcement was Zora buying back protocol revenue from with the acquisition of Mint.Fun. And I was like, that's interesting. You could literally just do math on that and discount the cash flows and be like, okay, here's an implied valuation of this, which is kind of funny because you don't really get that a lot in crypto generally. I think,
I'm sure that probably went to their calculations of like, wanted to do it or not.
Exactly. I think this idea of like ephemeral products is something that's really compelling, or at least I think relevant to builders. I think this, there's sort of this like Web 2 building model of like building a very specific thing that solves a very specific job and just iterating the hell out of that, and big markets sort of emerge as sort of like the success state of startups. And it's interesting, in crypto we almost see something different emerging, which is like there being some more meta layer, like an intention, a vision, and then a whole lot of iteration, either within a product. So I think Zora is a good example of this, where they've tried a lot of things, killed a lot of things, and we're still moving to a pretty clear direction. But if you look at like the products they've built, there's been a lot of things that have been sunset along the way and refocused on. And I think, from a context perspective, or, I think we'll talk about Friend.Tech a bit later today, there's a sense of actually building really unique products, shutting them down, selling them, iterating on them, and then coming out with something new, and yet being able to bring that core intention and that community along with them. So I think we're going to see a lot more of this stuff, and I think this is kind of an interesting look behind the scenes at how builders are approaching this, because right now you've turned your attention to, I mean, maybe the current meta, but even like leaning into the future meta. Like, I think meme market, we'd love to learn a little bit more about that, but maybe the place to start is with Rug.Fun, because that's the thing that's all over the timelines. It's a thing there's probably an airdrop for you out there. If you haven't claimed your airdrop, you should probably go do it. And actually, I think it is the thing that's leaning into a very exciting segment of crypto right now, which I think Josh would say creating the social context for transacting. And you've created a fun game here that if you go into the chat, most people are still trying to wrap their heads around, and maybe we'll only see it once it goes through once. But we'd love to learn a little bit more about Rug.Fun and the game you're designing here.
Rug.Fun's really interesting. We announced it the same day we announced the Zora acquisition, and we launched it yesterday. And it's a 24-hour game. The simplest way I can explain Rug.Fun is it is a token launcher, like a meme coin token launcher that is PvP. And I think that's like the most succinct way of putting it, where essentially there's two stages. There's one period where anyone can make a coin, and it's really chaotic, and your goal is to get your coin into the top 10. And that lasts 12 hours. And then there's a second period where it's a game of hot potato, where the goal is of the second phase is you want to own the most liquid coin, coin number 1, or coin number 10, the least liquid coin, and the liquidity from the other coins in the game get redistributed amongst the first and the last coin. And I guess like the thing that excites me about this is, it's been simple for years to start a new ERC20 on blockchains, so, a new fungible token. It's also NFTs. I think what you said about social context is really right. I basically think that something went wrong. I think that we're working on that, but that's a known issue.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Sorry.
No.
Remind me.
Yeah, it was just in chat with team figuring out what happened there. But anyways, there's this thing of social context where tokens don't exist in a vacuum, or any kind of crypto assets don't exist in a vacuum, and the experience of collecting the token and the experience of how you decide to buy something, I think really changes the way that you engage and interact with it. And so, without sounding too ridiculous or something, it's an experiment with that. Like, how can you change the way that people think about meme coins? One person was saying something to me, which I thought was great feedback on Farcaster, just along the lines of will really the worst token lose at number 10? Because there's all these weird dynamics. And I think on some level, Rug.Fun separates the material of the token, the image, and the experience, because it has these incentives around it. And so, yeah. So that's what Rug.Fun is. The first game ends in an hour and a half or so, an hour and 40 minutes. And it did really well. We thought that we did an airdrop where we basically gave people free claim to one of the tokens in the game. This token is called airdrop. It ended up being the most popular token in the game. We thought that the airdrop token would do well, particularly because we were kind of giving it out to get people to try the product. It did really, really well, and yeah, it has a few $1 million of liquidity right now. So at the end of the game, the liquidity from token number 1 and token number 10, as well as the trading fees collected in the game, those liquidity goes straight to Uniswap, and they fund the tokens. We don't take a fee on trades. We make money by taking the liquidity fees at the end of the game. So
got it. So right now, if the game ends now, please scroll down. So I guess the prize pool is 400K. So 200 of that K will go to airdrop. Airdrop also has, scroll down more, like $3 million in liquidity. So that is all of that going into the liquidity pool. And then based on the number of people that the holders, that's how the supply gets determined or something. What are kind of the tokenomic details?
Yeah, the technicals are kind of specific. And I don't want to say the wrong thing, but my understanding is essentially for a single token, for one of the winners, so the ETH that is the liquidity gets deposited into the liquidity pool. The other thing that gets deposited in the liquidity pool is more tokens are minted that to kind of provide both sides of the liquidity. I think it might just be kind of a 1-to-1 mapping based on the pre-sale price, but I could be wrong about that. That's my understanding. And then I think the fees are used to market buy. I think I'm saying something wrong here. But the idea is
something's going to happen. Yeah. Something's going to happen. Yeah.
The idea is that the fees and the liquidity are used to basically start a new token on Uniswap, and so that'll be really interesting to see, because then kind of the interface to watch will be a chart, on DEX Screener or something.
I mean, it's pretty clear that this, I put this in a similar category as Pump.Fun, right? Where there's you're launching meme coins. There's some social dynamics that are being kind of hard coded into the game. Pump.Fun is sort of bonding curves and maybe feels more expansive. But I think what this unlocks for me is just this whole new lane where you think, okay, well, how do I go design a game that tokens are kind of like the influencers or the first party citizens of, and that, I mean, you just imagine any number of dynamics around it. So I was thinking the other day about sort of the SocialFi wave that we're in right now, and people be very excited about SocialFi. And, some of them are really putting people and influencers at the center of it. And that feels far less compelling to me than putting tokens at the center of it. And so when I saw what you guys were doing here, I was like, oh shit, this is interesting. The heroes of this journey are going to be the lowest and the highest token, and then whatever the hell happens after that. And then I'm assuming you just go run it again, probably make some tweaks, and this can be kind of an ever-evolving, fun game as long as people are interested in tokens, which we think is a long has a lot of longevity to it, at least.
Yeah, I think the thing that I tweeted this yesterday too, in just the most annoying way possible. But like, I think what excites me about this is that it's like productizing meme coin consensus building, which I think we've actually had a lot of these conversations with teams around. And I think like, the holy grail opportunity of meme coins is actually creating the one that becomes, the consensus shelling point for something that is like culturally relevant. And, there's like nothing to say that, the Costco hot dog meme, for example, actually like deserves to be a $40 million meme coin, but the team that launched it and like the memers around it just did enough of that kind of hard work to break it out. And then once it's big enough and has the network effects, then people kind of like, now feel like it was inevitable all along, but it never was. So I'm very interested in these products that are kind of doing things that potentially make that more predictable or like democratize it in some way, or I don't know, just really like building around this, like how do you, instead of it just happening in this kind of like natural internet selection way, which I think there's actually a ton of value in, like how do you actually productize that and I don't know, maybe more predictably be able to do it. I think doing it in like narrow kind of verticals is one version. I've talked a lot about, the opportunity to build like a social sports product around meme coins, and the likelihood that the meme coins that come out of that would be the kind of consensus shelling points for these like sports memes. But I think this is kind of another, I guess building games around it's kind of like another really interesting angle to approach DeFi.
Yeah.
You go for it.
Oh,
no.
Yeah, that's kind of that was a big part of the design inspiration of this is, how can you make people care about a coin? And I think one answer is, adversity. I think the best meme coins have some reason to care about them, whether it's Elon Musk tweeting about them, whether it's, dog with hat crowdfunding to like get the, photo on the sphere, or, whatever it may be. And so this is just one thing where it's like, if you can make this competitive moment, like a thing you remember, fighting to win, can that create some sort of attachment or interest in it? And so, yeah, the experience more or less is the thing that makes you care. That's the hope, at least.
I love watching Josh turns cope into intellectualizing meme coins. The Costco hot dog example he launched that
right.
way earlier.
Cope is adversity, right? Like that's kind of what I mean. Yeah.
I'm just saying Josh specifically does that by intellectualizing meme coins rather than maybe launching new products. But
I think it's actually a great example that like the meme. So I launched the first Costco hot dog meme on Pump.Fun and put zero effort into it. So I think just it's just proof that often these memes, they can't just stand on their own, like you can't just put it out there and just it inevitably is going to succeed because it's a funny meme or people care about the meme. Like there's actually a lot of hard work to do behind the scenes. And I think that was just like a very clear example of that.
Tell me about the thinking about bringing in chat and how important is like the social dynamic kind of living alongside the sort of token dynamics.
Oh yeah, we wanted to ship chat sooner, but we got busy doing other stuff. So we shipped it like 12 hours into the game or 10 hours into the game or something. Yeah, I mean, it's just the first place I traded Bitcoin. Well, maybe the second place I traded Bitcoin was the scammy Russian website that doesn't exist called BTCE. And anyone who used BTCE remembers how insane the chat was there. And I've always wanted to build a troll box into the products we build. Yeah. And because this product requires coordination, it requires people gaming stuff out. I was reading a conversation earlier today about, like people saying like, hey, here are the flaws in the game. Here's like how we can get around it. That's exactly what I wanted to happen. So it was really cool that people were saying that. And also it's just a good place to kind of answer questions and like have community. Surprisingly less like spam and stuff than I expected. So I think chat's important for kind of making these bonds and, showing. Also, I think like, one thing we found with, Mint.Fun, but you can also see this with products such as Pump.Fun is like things should feel real time, active, like you're kind of watching something happen. I mean, before we had chat, I was refreshing like base scan a lot to see new trades and stuff come in. And now I don't have to do that because this is actually faster than base scan because it's like pushing the trades right to my eyeballs. So yeah.
I love it. So what we have an hour and 30 minutes, just under an hour and 30 minutes before the real fun starts. Seems like
yeah.
a big experiment to see if it actually works, what happens, etc. But Yeah, a lot of people interested in this.
So what's next? Are you gonna run one of these a week? Like, what's the plan looking forward?
Yeah, we're gonna put something on the site when the game ends to answer that question. I know the answer. I'm just not gonna say right now. To be annoying. We know we're gonna try stuff again. We've got a lot of feedback. There are parts of the game that are maybe easy to game or exploit or something, but I think there's a lot of attention. We're going to run another game soon, and we would really want to hear from the community about how they're feeling. And also, we also want to give this first game a chance to play out, right? What happens to coin number 10? What happens to coin number 1 once they're on dexes? Launching a new game right away kind of feels like not a good way to kind of just explore some of those questions. And so I'm personally really fascinated to see.
Let them cook.
Yeah.
Love it.
But we'll have more soon. I mean, people seem like they want another game soon, which is good to hear. I feel lucky that
I'm sure they do.
I'm
sure they do. Yeah.
Well, it's fun. I think you'll get far more attention after this one, as this one closes, than you've had probably through the initial gameplay. So a lot of new people will pay attention, regardless of what happens once those tokens hit the deck screeners of the world. All right, man. Well, appreciate you coming and hanging out with us. We love showing early looks at new things. There's I think there's a whole exciting lane that I expect to see a lot of other sort of products and games. I feel like this is the best version of on-chain games. A lot of people are trying to be really complicated with bringing mobile gaming or
AAA gaming,
AAA gaming to but this feels far more natural to me, putting tokens as the main characters and allowing people to trade and fuck around with them. So excited to see where it goes. Appreciate you hanging out with us today. And 90 minutes. Let's see what happens.
All right. Thanks so much for having me. See you then. See you later. Bye.
Take care.
Bye. Yeah, cool. I mean, I love this
more.
product.
I just want more. I just want more of this.
I saw it and I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then they released the details and I was like, what the fuck? New category unlocked here, and I love now the .fun domain. Oh, it's such good positioning. Go live in.
Yeah, I was starting to write. I'm just working on my newsletter bit, and we've gotten to this weird. It's Friend.Tech, Pump.Fun, Rug.Fun, Meme.Mark, the names of the TDLs or whatever the thing's called, being a core part of the branding is apparently just a thing in meme land.
We love it.
You guys are still
kind
here?
of nervous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you?
Woo! What's up?
We're
you
back.
Just round trip something?
Baby.
What's going on? Okay. Another act of God piece or what?
Another act of God. Yeah, I lost the internet there for a second, but we're back online.
Nice. Didn't even notice.
Yeah.
I
just thought Peace was being quiet. I thought you were just conserving your energy for whatever the hell is next year.
Segment.
What the fuck is Peace doing on chain segment? You ready for it?
Oh yeah. Well, damn near.
All right. Well,
hold on.
All right. What the fuck is Peace doing on chain? I don't know. I feel like we got to have a bumper here to properly introduce it.
What the fuck is Peace doing on chain?
I got so excited by that I lost my headphone in my shirt.
Oh, fucking A. Yeah, so big week. It's been a big week. What can I say? There's so much that I actually need to do on chain. The pups token can now be the Rune pup ordinal can now be burned and claimed for the pups rune, which is hype, and I super need to do that. But we went on the whole Runemilio trip last week, and I feel like it's worth maybe going into what happened this week, because it was actually a really cool thing that they had everyone get into. So they put out on the website. Sorry, let me sign into Unisat. If you go to their website, This is like the little Easter eggs that I was talking about. So it's like if you click this rune, you can get in here, plug in the secret code. And a while back, they had basically given a secret hash. So everyone has their worthy hashes. And then this person, let's see, am I going to be able to? Yeah, Rune Toshi. Then this person tweeted and was like, hey, we found this on 4chan, seems worthy. So basically, people figured out that, okay, what you're supposed to do is take this piece of HTML. Allegedly, like some people are saying you don't need to edit it at all. You can leave it here. Some people are saying, no, take your worthy hash and replace this data set. And so, yeah, it was cool. I did my first inscriptions. I had to do it 4 times in order to get it right. But what happens is like when you get this inscription, so I'm just going to grab this inscription ID and you go to ordinals. They've put something on chain such that when you inscribe this, that HTML actually loads as a website, basically. Here's someone who's done it wrong because you can still see the HTML. Oh yeah, they're still doing it wrong. But when you do it right, it actually loads this thing. So I'm going to go like to the actual content.
That Bitcoin cursor.
Nice. Yeah, well, I think that's an ordinals thing. I don't know. Maybe it is like, yeah, cool vibe. So then there's more Easter eggs, and like you can click around here to like get your thing. So here it shows, it gives me a worthiness score, which is cool. So it shows that like I burned 1 Runemilio. So there's 1 gift for the gods, and I'm holding 0 Runemilios. And it says that. And then now if you hit shift, or is it shift K? Am I tripping? Let's see. How do we get to it?
Click one of those things. Actually, I'm curious, whoever's listening to this on our site, can you just write like no or yes if you've done anything with ordinals or inscription so far?
Can somebody write no for me?
So this is like the point to where I am now, is like entering this secret phrase, and I've just been like going over their tweets. I've been listening to that. So there's the poetic Eddas. Apparently there's 3 in history. There's the Elder Edda, which this website is named after, the Younger Edda, and then another codex in which they've referenced. Cool stories, amazing lore, and it's all like referencing the moment, the sacrifice that Odin made in order to discover the secret of runes. And so it is kind of boomer, right? Because it's like, yeah, they're doing like old school mythology and like having us publish HTML documents on Bitcoin. But it's cool because this is like on chain. So I don't know how they've done it. They've done something where they've minted something on chain such that an HTML document minted on chain actually renders a website, which is a really cool thing. And yeah, it just has like some early ETH energy. And yeah,
I feel like we've lost to the depths of Runemilios. I feel like you're just spending hours clicking on random things that show up on random web pages and still hanging out in 6-hour-long Twitter spaces. I just want to check in on you, Peace. Or
yeah, well, the Twitter spaces have died down a little bit, but there was a coin. I didn't verify my wallet, but there's been a couple airdrops in allow list. So this is one. Let's see. Yeah, well, I have to fade it anyway. That's okay. Good for these guys. But yeah, nice solidarity going on. People made the sacrifice and are still playing the game and putting each other on allow lists and launching more tokens. It's fun.
I'm trying to imagine somebody who didn't sit through the last segment trying to have any sense of what the fuck is actually happening here, and also trying to imagine even if you did sit through last week's segment, if you have any idea of what the heck is happening here. But rest assured, we have an on-the-ground reporter, a peace note, who's in the depths of Bitcoin and the mother chain and Runemilio's, who I think will continue to report back. So many millions of dollars worth of Runemilio's burned to be able to play this game that feels very Web 1.0 on chain.
Yeah, totally.
I get it.
And then this is the next thing, man. What is with burning, right? It's like they're like, mint these tokens, now burn it and collect your other ones. Whoo, love it. Keep me engaged, honestly. But I like this. I don't know if you've ever followed Cook Calls. He claims to have sold the cultural top on Bitcoin puppets. But Pups Token says that he's right, and we are going to McDonald's, which is nice because I want some chicken nuggets. Basically.
All right.
Let's
and that's what Peace did on chain this week.
That's right.
Okay. Well, I don't know how to engage with that in any other way other than to say, let us move on.
Let's go. Okay. This was a good one.
Sick. We'll get 19 minutes for some heavy topics. This is great. So this is a good one. I guess just coming out of FarCon. I think saw this take from Xerox Designer, really just like, he said coming out of it more bearish on Farcaster, but really he's just, trying to make sense of the, Farcaster, the protocol, Warpcast, the client, calling for more clients, but truly kind of just the competitive dynamic that exists there. And I saw this get, shared around a bunch of the group chats I'm in and led to some, interesting discussions in them. So just wanted to bring it up and kind of maybe just like throw it to you, Jess, and see what your take is here. I definitely have one as well, but.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's like two predominant strategies that are being run with Lens and Farcaster. One is, app is the way to build, build a compelling consumer experience and sort of use that as a way of sort of bootstrapping the protocol. And I think the other is sort of protocol first and trust that others will come and build interesting apps on it. I don't know. I think Peace's reaction to, or no, I think it was Oxen's reaction to this in the group chat, which was like, it feels like we just had FarCon was like, 2 sleepovers in the row and people were just kind of over each other for a little bit. Like it was just a lot of that energy coming out of it. So
it was actually, it was such a good message. He was like, it's like when your mom lets you stay at your best friend's house for 2 nights and you both hate each other at the end.
Yeah, it was good.
Really great.
But I feel like there was just like a sentiment coming out of that. But I don't know. I mean, we had Dan on the show last week. I think there is sort of like a sense that a lot of people are looking at clients in a very competitive way with Warpcast right now. I don't think that's how he sees the big opportunity there. I think they sort of see this like bootstrapping the social data as the opportunity and talked a lot about how Dracula was able to kind of come in and leverage the social network that existed on Farcaster without having to be competitive in any way with Warpcast. So I think and just in seeing a lot of the other sort of client conversations that have come out, I think there is a lot more creativity being applied to it rather than just trying to be a power user tool, or which I think is still a good business. Supercast is doing great numbers over there. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's just.
I mean, I guess I do kind of think that like the Farcaster bull case kind of has to have Warpcast winning, or at least I think like for a long time Warpcast has to be the dominant client to give like the protocol actually enough time to kind of like ossify into this core piece of internet infrastructure. Because I think it's still so early that if another client suddenly started dominating protocol use, like there is a huge incentive for them to, to fork it, to not only like, be able to capture the fees themselves and, control development, but it would also just be a pretty smart tactic to actually just get anyone who's not on their client to kind of move over. So I do think the bull case here is Warpcast continues being the dominant client. And then this ecosystem of like more narrowly defined or people just like expanding and leveraging and building upon this social graph kind of grows around it. And I think Brian responded that like a token actually solves this. And I'm actually not even sure it would. Like, I think it obviously would help accelerate the network effects and grow the ecosystem faster. And I very much think they should launch a token, but it still wouldn't actually change the incentive and opportunity that like a dominant client would have. So I guess my just like quick take on it is the bull case for Farcaster is that Warpcast just continues being the like hub for all activity, and then everything continues being this open data layer, open social graph, and a bunch of people are kind of extending that in
well, you see this
ways.
Carryover of like decentralized purism, not the right word, but like this idea that everything should be decentralized. And I think we kind of come through a cycle where that, and I think we're in a point right now where people are like, well, actually, maybe if I give me something that's interesting to use and valuable for me to use, and if I trust, there's I think trust assumptions across the board. We were talking about L2s that still have a ton of trust assumptions associated with them. People are clearly okay in making that, and I think there's still like a loud vocal minority that is rightfully sort of shaking the tree and saying, well, hey, listen, there's a lot of trust that we're putting into these developers if you're going to go bet the farm on building on this protocol right now. But at the same time, there's I think a lot of reason to believe that the team is going to follow through on what they say. And I think we often sort of are, the actual trust assumptions are pretty abstracted away in a lot of the other conversations. They just become very clear in this one. And so from what we've seen, people seem very willing to take that risk. And, I think I'd include myself in that category. And the failure case here is that nobody wants to use this. This is still a tiny network. They're still dealing with spam. There's still, a lot of things that they need to go solve to make this truly a place where people want to spend the majority of their time online. And if you're unable to go win that, whether that goes for Lens or for Farcaster, I think nothing else really matters. So more people that have identity and addresses tied together in a social context is very, very valuable for anybody building in Web3. And I think there should be many more experiments run, but also would love to see these things reach the many millions of users versus the tens of thousands that are in right now.
Yeah. Only one night sleepovers.
One night at a time.
I mean, it's the thing. I feel like our sleepover on free Wi-Fi was like the third night of sleepover, but you're able to invite a few more friends. And so that was fun for me. Consumer season, Josh.
Consumer season. Yeah. So I think, we've obviously been just screaming about the inevitability of this being a consumer cycle for, it's been a while actually. I was thinking back, it was like kind of January last year where we were like, we got to start just being really loud about consumer coming. And I think we're finally starting to see just like, the data and, kind of hard numbers back that up. So this week we saw, I think for the first time, 3 consumer products actually break into the top 15 of all of fee generation across all protocols. This is alongside Ethereum and alongside MetaMask and alongside all these kind of mainstay kind of massively used protocols, which is just really sick to see. But I think I think within this, there are a couple interesting things to dive into. One, we kind of talked about token and business models this week in our SEO 7 session, and it kind of pushed me to look back on a piece I wrote a year ago around consumer crypto business models. And I kind of ran through membership, first party drops, curated drops, identity products, collectibles, services, and then transaction fees and network value. It was all kind of these emerging opportunities to keep an eye on. And it's kind of cool, interesting being here, looking back on that and just seeing how obvious transaction fees as the killer business model of consumer crypto looks and feels right now. Zora, Friend.Tech, Unlonely, Fantasy Top, Pump.Fun, Sofamon. These are all just high volume transaction fee businesses that are, creating context people want to transact within and making, a ton of money in doing so. So I think that was kind of one interesting reflection. I think another one was, just realizing, consumer products are breaking out, people are waking up to it, but still just seeing how dramatically undervalued they are compared to infra. I think mode launched this week that people were talking about, has doing way less volume, way less fees than Friend.Tech, has nothing interesting built on it, launches at I think $550 million FDV, which is 3 times the valuation of Friend.Tech. So I think just another, I just don't see how this doesn't kind of violently recorrect once the market realizes that consumer products are going to own all the leverage, they're going to vertically integrate, they're going to consume and commoditize all this infrastructure. So I think just
consumer bull case
right there. And then I think maybe the third, maybe we could kind of pause on this for a minute. The third thing that we really got into is just, looking at how, speculative and kind of, very crypto focused, crypto heavy Fantasy Top, Pump.Fun, Friend.Tech all are. And I think, we had a number of discussions this week just around what's going to have staying power. The user numbers on these are actually still pretty small. I think Pump.Fun's 15K DAOs, Friend.Tech's 10K, Fantasy Top is 1K DAOs and doing these numbers. So these are still these very small niche products. Obviously they're doing huge numbers, which is great. And if I was the founders of these projects, I would probably just continue doing what we're doing and, padding the bank accounts, which is, that's awesome. But like, I think it really brought us to have some conversations around what is going to break out? Like, what do these projects need to do next to actually go from, 10 to 100K to 1 million daily active users?
I mean, these feel like the toys that bring people in, that sort of provide inspiration for things that become, more networks, etc. And so I think like the way I was sort of framing it up in our chat was like, is this a fad or is this a trend? And I feel like most of these are fads right now, and their opportunity is to turn it into a trend. And I think that is, in large part, how accessible are these games to new users coming in? Like I think that's the risk factor for Fantasy Top, is like the more you feel like you're on the outside, the further that game goes, the harder it feels to sort of jump in. Obviously, that's some product design decisions there that they can create, solve for, etc. But my sense here is that these mechanics applied to other areas, maybe different categories, ones that sort of are bridging this sort of divide that seems to exist between like coordination and speculation, I think is probably the most interesting to me. So how do you kind of bring those two worlds together? We also often talk about, Chris Dixon's talking about the computer versus the casino. I like to call it the slot machine versus the vending machine. And, being able to like smash those two together in a compelling way feels very interesting. Meme plus mechanism. It is wild that you can have 1,000 daily active users and generate multiple millions of dollars worth of fees. That should be very bullish for anybody that's building here. Also think it's going to lead to a lot of teams being able to launch and not ever have to raise funding, which is a huge shift. A large part of that narrative for why something like Mode or just infrastructure generally is valuable right now is because they're playing the token launch game. It's go get a lot of investors excited, get your centralized exchange listings on board, get your market makers on board, launch a low float, high FDV token, airdrop a whole bunch of tokens. And, I don't think there's a whole lot of thought beyond that, really. I mean, obviously there is, but the strategies to how you evolve that are kind of change. And I think as we sort of maybe talk about Friend.Tech here, there's a very different game plan being run here, which is like, okay, well, how do we involve people in the creation and the ownership from sort of day one? And can we apply that to things that are going to be actually interesting to a wider set of users? Because I mean, these things have barely even cracked like the critical mass of crypto users. So you would never have to go wider than this, and you could still have a really great business as long as there's some like replay value. So I think it's absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, I think that was a great segue actually into Friend. I put Friend as kind of the category, but really it was like, I think disillusionment largely people are feeling with infra tokens or the way they're being launched right now. I think Hayden kind of had a great tweet just running through, his thoughts on it. But I think kind of the bigger point is that, like, I think consumer tokens, I think in the previous cycle, we very clearly just kind of squeezed consumer token models into like the protocol token model frameworks. We're like, oh, tokens need governance over protocol changes and treasuries, but it's just in hindsight been clunky as hell for consumer use cases. And, no one wants to govern anything. They want to be served. And, ultimately like the superpower of tokens is to capture the attention, social, cultural value of these communities and worlds that are being built. And kind of jamming them into like protocol token models, like actually just hinders or takes away from that. So I think kind of looking where we're standing now and looking forward, I think it's very, very clear that we need kind of completely new consumer token models for like the types of projects that are being launched now that do not look like the protocols or kind of DAOs of the past.
Well, I think Friend is actually a great example here, right? Where they've fully distributed the token and created an incredible revenue model based on top of it, right? The fact that Bunny Swap is integrated into the product, the fact that this token is being used within the various games that are being sort of launched within Friend.Tech. And the nice piece, I love that was yours. And that there was $40 million worth of volume through Bunny Swap. There's a meaningful fee there that people are willing to sort of pay. And so I think our thesis on Friend.Tech is that they just have a lot more to come out, but that to sort of launch, but that this idea of like fully distributing a token and then vertically integrating the trading and the buying and selling and transacting, it's just going to pump fees to them. That's going to be like an absolute cash printer. And it's almost like a very pure version of this idea of what a social token is, right? How do you go out and that token is fully distributed, represents the totality of the scene. Everybody has sort of some it's a fair launch, if you will, if we even want to use that term, right now. And that the business model is actually just like provide value and take a bit of a fee on doing that.
Yeah, totally. I think if I squint, I think I kind of see the future of consumer crypto token models, like, clearly being just integrated into the social experiential layer. I don't think it needs to be like shoved into kind of business economic flows in any way, whether that's like reputation, earning fees, premium experience. Like who knows what that's going to look like? Probably product dependent. I think, yeah, interesting kind of discussion around going 100% airdrop like Friend.Tech did versus what we're seeing happen with social distribution and tipping. I feel like those are both kind of two things to continue exploring. I think social distribution has a ton of power to just really like accelerate and ignite participation in a scene and a thing. And then I think, the last one that we've been just talking more and more about is like, as when you recognize that tokens are products and a ton of people participating in these worlds are actually just going to hang out at the speculation layer and buy and sell to like consume tokens. It's very obvious that project should be capturing some value from that. So whether that's kind of integrating a native DEX like Friend.Tech did, or whether that's transaction fees at the smart contract level, they're just clear, like capturing value there, creating a bunch of attention, creating a great brand, world building, allowing people to just have fun at that level, but then being able to capture value and route it back to kind of the core to reward people, more social distribution, fund the project to just continue building and serving people. I think that's kind of a core mechanism that needs to be figured out.
Yeah, I think social distribution, if you're at the 0 to 1 and involving people from day one and you have a token from as close to day one as possible, it makes a ton of sense. I think, Friend.Tech has been around, launch products. Yeah. It's like the choice here was really, should we go launch in this sort of like infra style token model, or should we do something different? And so, for teams that are maybe further down the line, I think looking at what Friend.Tech here, I'm sure they're watching it pretty closely to see how that works. Because one of the issues of privately funding these networks for a long time and really having multi-billion-dollar valuations before there's even a token is it makes that distribution of tokens to your users in a way that makes them feel like not only rewarded for that effort, but also that there's some upside in it is a very, very difficult thing to go do. And I think we've seen Friend.Tech here kind of run a strategy that solves for that to some degree. I mean, we'll see. We'll see where it goes. All right, 2 minutes left. Are we going to talk about Blast? Should we talk about Blast next week?
It can be a very quick hit. I think really just, not super deep in the ecosystem, but, from just kind of retracted position, it's just so obvious how much work they're doing to just promote the projects and tokens and NFTs that are being built within their ecosystem. And I think it's just such an incredible example of how to like king make products that are building on your ecosystem and take a very like consumer focused approach to like ecosystem and chain building. All people were talking about was Blast jackpots and that they were winning because they were trading meme coins on Blast, or Fantasy Top with no usage is a really shitty, boring product. Fantasy usage with like instant liquidity and a bunch of instant attention is a great product. And I think the Blast Gold like existence was a big part of their ability to go 0 to 1 there. So I think just props to that.
I feel like there's a huge opportunity for an L2 to run the Blast playbook and make it a lot more simple. Like, it is confusing as fuck. What the hell's actually happening there? And I don't know.
I always say this, but I really wish that my insurance company works just like this. They should all be doing.
I always say this.
I do. I can't stop. It's just like they should all be doing lotteries. This is great. They're taking money all the time. I ask for nothing.
Yeah, Buffett's getting the gold out of your insurance piece. So, congratulations.
This is the result of my act of God, etc.
I see. Yes. Okay. Bring it right up. All right. Hit me with a lightning round here before we say goodbye to these lovely folks.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Actually, we should shout out this.
Yeah, this is dope.
Huge shout out to Elise Foundation, part of SEO 7, on a sold out drop. I love this because I'm watching the countdown happen. I'm in the purchase flow. I sold some OP to go and actually be able to buy this thing. And the second I click buy, it's like, oh, sorry, sold out. That is the experience I'm looking for when I'm buying NFTs or I'm buying, anything on the internet, really, I want to feel like, wow, I feel like I missed out on something. And so this is, we had the team on a couple weeks ago, did a drop with Fuck Render. You can think of this sort of as like Masterworks, but on chain, but it's just still not even a full way of capturing it. There's like this bubbling up of community experiences around the co-creation or the co-collection and ownership of art. My understanding is this is going to be displayed in a public space as well. So it's almost like this public art funding and ownership. You could be able to walk down through Central Park and be like, I own a piece of that. Seeing the behind the scenes of this, these guys hustled their asses off to make this happen, and the excitement and energy, both from their live event last week and in and around the internet channels that they're popular on, has been incredible. So huge props to them, and excited to see what's next. Cool. Lightning round is a shill round. Love it.
Let's go.
Love it.
One more.
Yeah, let's do one more. Let
me do one more that's not labeled. I don't know what I'm clicking. Oh God, we always get Trump. I'm sorry. I don't know why it's like this. That's the clip I should have edited.
Is Tremp the thing?
I think it's just it's like the political attention thesis playing out. Trump goes to an NFT collection, says something, everything pumps.
Dude, I should have edited that clip, but he literally this week said that NFTs were not cool, and then they did the digital trading cards, and now they're the hottest thing. He said those fucking words on TV. He said that digital Trump trading cards kicked off the bull run.
This alternate timeline we're in right now is only going to get more and more interesting as November approaches. So
that's what I'm saying.
It's craziness. It's not enough time for us to find an eligible president for the United States of America.
It is not enough time. I mean, it actually could be, but it's just not.
Right.
Yeah, no comment. All right, folks, episode 28, Internet Explorers. We're back here live every Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern time. Thank you to our guest this week. I'm going to go see what's actually happening over on Rug.Fun right now. And it's summer here, baby. I'm working on my tan. Life is good.
Yeah,
till next week.
Your complexion's looking great today, Jess.
Thanks, man. I feel alive. Liveliness. That's my word of the weekend. All right, we'll see you here next week. And until then, we'll see you on chain.